Hello, I'm Miss Darci. Welcome to our virtual classroom. I'm happy to be here with you at this time and in this way when we cannot be in the classroom together. Today, we're going to talk about viewing our natural world with awe and respect. If you think about the Earth as a whole, it's very big. If you go bigger and think of the universe, it's vast and sometimes mysterious. And we can also focus in on the parts of our Earth, the deserts and oceans and forests and mountains. And I bet you can name a few things that remind you of nature too. But what happens when we go smaller and view the things where we actually live, the plants and animals that we see every day? Have you ever enjoyed the shade of a tree or the softness of grass? Have you been to a place where you can hear the water flowing onto a shore or down a stream? It's important to be sensitive to our connection with the natural world. I appreciate this Bible verse from the book of Job. Ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, or let the fish of the sea inform you. Which of these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind. Now that we're thinking and feeling more about nature around us, let's share our affirmation. I respect the diversity of the natural world. I am in awe of divinity. So let's say our affirmation again together. I respect the diversity of the natural world, and I am in awe of divinity. Let's say this one more time together and try to recognize the idea of beauty and wonder in this affirmation. I respect the diversity of the natural world. I am in awe of divinity. It's time to read our story, titled A Stormy Adventure, and you can follow along at home if you have a copy. A Stormy Adventure. Squirrel leaped from the branch of her tree, landed lightly on the branch of the neighboring tree, circled the trunk twice, and reached the ground with her tail high in the air and her nose sniffing the breeze for danger. Running across the ground, she skirted around a big rock and dashed under the low branches of the juniper, keeping an eye on her goal, the strawberry patch. She paused to survey the area, then quickly grabbed a ripe strawberry and ate it. She picked a second berry and ran back towards the tree with it in her teeth. Squirrel ran up the trunk of her tree and didn't pause until she popped into the hole on the north side. There she dropped the strawberry in the middle of 4 little babies. They were just beginning to eat more than just their mother's milk, and they all went for the strawberry eagerly. But one berry was not enough to feed 4 hungry squirrels, even baby ones. Squirrel dashed out of the nest again and headed back to the strawberry patch. The pine tree where they had their home provided many tasty pine cones, and there were other trees nearby that provided nuts for the squirrel family. Squirrel could sit high in her tree, high above the ground, and see for miles around. Today she sat out on the branch near the nest and sniffed the air. It was cooler than usual, and clouds gathered in the east. If a storm was coming, it was important to gather more food. The storm hit in the evening. The wind came first, moving the grasses and then the branches of the trees as it gained strength. The birds flew out of the storm's path or hid in their nests, while Squirrel and her babies stayed in their cozy home in their tree. When the rain started, it was getting dark. The rain and wind howled outside while Squirrel held her babies close. Occasionally, she would poke her nose out of the nest and smell the air, but she knew it was not time to leave her babies alone. The storm was a violent one, and the tree was bending and shaking in the wind so much that Squirrel was afraid they would be knocked out of the nest. The little ones squeaked as she fed them, putting her body between them and the opening to the dangerous world outside. While her babies slept, Squirrel listened to the storm, alert and poised for action. The wind was blowing fiercely when it suddenly changed direction. The tall pine tree that was able to bend with the wind, its branches brushing the ground, was wrenched around and pushed violently the other way, snapping in the middle where the stress was too much for the tree to handle. The trunk split with a loud noise. Then the broken tree hit the ground with a crash. Squirrel found herself on the wet ground, close to the opening of the nest, which was now lying in the middle of many broken branches. She was unhurt and quickly jumped into the nest to check on her babies. 2 of them squeaked at her in the darkness. 2 were missing. Squirrel went into action immediately. She sniffed the air and called to her babies in her mother's squirrel voice. But the wind and rain howled, and her voice was lost in the noise. She started searching in the dark, feeling along the ground and continuing to call. After a short time, she found one baby under a fallen branch, wet and scared, but not hurt. She picked it up and carried it back to the nest and put it with the others. Then she went out again to find the 4th. This one had fallen much further and was blindly crawling around in the dark, calling for its mother. Squirrel was thorough in her search, gradually going farther from the tree and checking every inch of ground, but it was difficult with so many branches down and the rain falling hard. She finally got close enough to hear the baby's cries and carried it back through the rain to the rest of the family. They stayed in the fallen tree until the morning, keeping each other warm. Squirrel was up with the sun in the clear, calm morning. The storm was gone, but the broken tree and the piles of branches on the ground told of the night's adventure. She fed her babies and checked them over thoroughly for injuries before going out in search of a new nest. Luckily, the branches did a pretty good job of hiding the opening to the old nest while she went in search of a new home. It wasn't very long before she found a safe spot high in another pine tree overlooking the strawberry patch. She carried each baby there and settled them in. Then Squirrel leapt from the branch of her tree, landed lightly in the branch of the neighboring tree, circled the trunk twice, and reached the ground with her tail high in the air and sniffed the breeze before grabbing another strawberry. That was an exhilarating story. Have you ever been in a storm? And how did that make you feel? Have you ever been nervous or worried about the noise, the wind, the rain? What do you think animals do during a storm? There's all types of animals. How do they react and how do they stay safe? We are a part of nature. We are connected to nature, and storms can show us how powerful nature is and how it affects us directly. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Thanks for sharing some time together. Until next time, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Namaste.